Hey guys, it's Corinne with the VIP Collective, and today we are switching it up and taking you on a tour of the newly renovated Fairmont Royal York Hotel. So come on guys, let's go check it out. Hi.
Hi.
Normally I would say welcome. However, I'm saying thank you today for having us to your establishment.
Thank you.
Which is the beautiful Fairmont Royal York. Yay! Located in the heart of downtown.
Yes.
So for everyone who's watching primarily and maybe listening, we are with Morgan Cardozo. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Fairmont? First, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Sure.
What's your background?
So I started in events with Oliver and Bonacini with their venues. So I worked at Malaparte, which is in the TIFF building. So it's this beautiful little boutique gem in also kind of the heart of the city, mostly in the heart of the film festival. But there were quite a few weddings there because they do have an outdoor space. Yes. So I started there with weddings. 80% of my business over there was weddings. So I jumped right on in. And then from there, I moved over to the Four Seasons Hotel, where I did a combination of corporate and weddings and sort of got my feet wet in the overall hospitality with hotels and all of that. And then I found out that the Royal York was doing a massive renovation on their ballrooms, and they were looking for a wedding specialist or sales specialist. And I thought it sounded like a really great project. I've always kind of had my eye on this hotel, given that it is so incredible in terms of fairy tale weddings. So I came over here last July. And then I've been here and immersed in the social world ever since.
Amazing. So you specialize in weddings?
I do, yes.
So what's your role specifically at the Fairmont?
So my role is a social catering sales manager. So while weddings is sort of my biggest market, I also do holiday parties and all your sort of small social stuff. So your bridal showers, your baby showers, afternoon teas, birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, those types of things. So,
and this is year-round,
this is always.
Because wedding season's summer, but then those parties happened kind of outside of that.
Yeah, surprisingly, we have a lot of fall and winter weddings as well. Because it's a hotel, you don't really have to be as concerned about the elements. So we're pretty busy all year round with weddings. In the winter, holiday parties keep me very busy. And then throughout the year, there's all sorts of celebrations. So
for sure. And so what's exciting is we are going to take a tour in a little bit to kind of see the new renovations that have happened within the Fairmont, which is pretty exciting because I've seen them. Yeah. But it'll be nice to show everyone else.
For sure.
So why don't you give us kind of a rundown of, in terms of weddings, let's say I'm a bride coming to you. So what's kind of something that I should know, or what is something that I should know about the Fairmont?
I think with the Fairmont, people think of this hotel as an ideal spot for a wedding. If they're coming here, there's usually some sort of personal tie to the hotel, whether they've just been here or they've been to an event here. So we're not necessarily unfamiliar, but I think it's really important to really harp on the fact that we've been doing this for so long. We just celebrated our 90th anniversary. We have a catering manager in-house who's literally been here for 29 years, who's done over 500 weddings. So it's not our first rodeo. So there's a lot more guidance here that comes from that experience. Right. So we try and calm them down a little bit. I feel like it's so overwhelming. You get engaged and all of a sudden you have to pick a venue, which is kind of the biggest part, right? It dictates the date, it dictates the location, and all the other elements that come with it. So we slow down, we talk a little bit about how familiar are you with the hotel, what exactly are you looking for, what's the size of your wedding, because we are so fortunate to have so many event spaces. We do weddings from 10 guests up to, we can do 700. Wow. So it's pretty intense. So we start the conversation off with just, tell me a bit about what you've already thought about your guest count, whether or not you want a ceremony space, whether or not you've got a lot of guests coming in from out of town. So we sort of take it step by step and sort of customize or hone in on what we can offer for those specific clients.
I think it can be overwhelming, like
For
especially
sure.
when you're looking for a venue and walking into a venue of this capacity and how big it is. You really need someone in your role to just rein it in.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, so let's start talking about the elements of your wedding and where we could place you within the venue. So the other interesting thing I think about the Fairmont is that you can host both your ceremony and reception within one location and your cocktail hour. So you're kind of getting all in one on the day of without having to move different locations.
Exactly.
Right? Which is pretty cool. Are there also locations around here that people opt for photography so that they could go off-site or stay on-site to take photos?
I think it depends on their overall event timing. So if they choose to have their ceremony in the morning and still give their guests that time to go refresh or change or have lunch somewhere, then they can broaden their horizons for photography. But within this hotel, there are endless possibilities just in this building alone. So if you do want to have your first look be the first time you see each other, you can get quite a bit covered in that hour to an hour and a half here in the hotel.
Yes.
I've just actually seen wedding photos from a wedding we just hosted a couple months ago, and there are beautiful pictures from Union Station, which is directly across the street, because it still has that old world charm to it. And then again, we're right on the subway line, so if there's anywhere that's significant to the bride and groom that happens to be downtown, you can sort of go where you can or where you want to.
That's pretty handy. Do you find that a lot of guests actually do commute in?
We have a lot of guests who do choose to take Uber or taxi or subway because we are on the line for the Up Express. Guests flying in can come literally underground into the hotel and stay here and go back to the airport that way. So it's very convenient if you do have a lot of guests coming in from out of town.
That's good.
There's a complimentary shuttle from Billy Bishop Airport. So again, if anybody's flying in there, we're very centrally located from that perspective. So
Sure. So let's stick on guests kind of coming in. So if I'm a bride and groom who's decided to host my wedding here, what happens with the rooms? Are there blocks of rooms that you offer for their guests or for the couple specifically? Kind of run me through how that works.
Yes. So for the bride and groom, if they are using one of our wedding packages, we offer them the Bridal Suite. So we're sitting in one of our Bridal Suites.
Which we are in at the moment.
Exactly. So it is a one-bedroom suite with a parlor and 2 washrooms, is sort of the suite they get to stay in.
First of all, 2 washrooms is really handy when there's so many females in a room.
Yep, exactly.
so
your space
really well
can be
thought out.
Your space can be your space if you need to take a second. There's too much going on. Being able to have the bedroom with the separate bathroom is very helpful.
And I also want to note the natural light that is in this room, which is stunning and always so important when you're doing your hair and makeup. You always want to have somewhere that's lit naturally as opposed if you can. Yeah. And this room really does offer that spaciousness. So
for sure. We are very fortunate to have a bunch of other smaller private event spaces as well. So if you did want something that was very charming and intimate, we have our 19th floor that works really well for that amongst other sort of bridal related events. But also we've got our main mezzanine level, which has sort of varying sizes of rooms. So if we need to relocate hair and makeup down there, we do have rooms with natural light on that floor as well. And we also will take a little walk through on the sea floor, but there are some spaces there that can be used for that too. So there's plenty of options here, which is really nice.
Definitely.
But jumping back to your question, so brides and grooms get these rooms. Oftentimes, parents each get a Fairmont luxury room as well. And our Fairmont luxury category was part of a renovation that completed in 2017. So they're all quite nice and updated. You can do an open block rate, which would essentially give you a bit more flexibility, where we offer a preferred rate for your wedding date. It doesn't require any commitment in terms of quantity of rooms from the bride and groom, which offers a bit more comfort, especially if most of your guests are local.
You would say, okay, maybe we have 20 rooms set aside for your wedding, and they have a certain date to fill those rooms if they want to use them.
So that would be more of our contracted block. So the open block is available up until your wedding. It's first come, first serve. That's sort of what that option is.
Okay.
Lots of options.
Makes sense. So let's talk a little bit about the ceremony and reception spaces. Now, we are going to go up and have a look at those.
Yes.
Which I'm super excited about. But what's kind of, I know, how many weddings do you think you host here a year? Do you have a ballpark?
Yeah, it ranges depending on the year. I'd probably say 35 to 45.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so has there been any of recent that kind of stood out to you that you remember being on site for or seeing anything? I did see one where there was rose petal cannons that had shot off after the ceremony.
Yes.
Which looked stunning.
It was beautiful.
If we were able to get photos, then I would definitely love to show that as well. But it looked really pretty.
It was, that might have been the first or second wedding I came in to see.
Yeah.
And I was completely blown away. I was like, oh, this is what I'm here for. Oh my gosh. It brought me to tears, that wedding in particular. Right. But we have so many people who play with our space so differently. It is a very versatile space. The concert hall was completely neutralized with the renovation. So it's got a more white and gray color palette, which allows people to bring in any color, any design that they'd like. Not to say that they didn't before, because we've got catalogs of photos in that space with so many different designs. So I think the size of that room in particular allows for people to get more creative and also can accommodate different guest counts. So even if you are closer to that 275, 300, that just gives you a little bit of a playground to fill it with lounge furniture or play around with the design of your dance floor or be able to do as big or as little of a stage as you want. So
for sure.
It's pretty special that way.
And you can have two separate rooms. You could have one for ceremony and one for reception, or you can opt to do one room, your ceremony, your guests leave and go for a cocktail, and then you guys are flipping the room at that point.
Yes.
Correct?
So we technically have two ballrooms that we can do that with. So the Imperial Room, which I don't know if we'll see today, and then the ballroom can both be flipped from ceremony to reception, or when we get up to the convention floor, we can do ballroom for the ceremony for up to about 400. We've done 450 in that room.
Wow.
And then the cocktail area in front of that space is also shared with the concert hall, which is where we would be hosting the reception. So it's a really nice flow. We'll walk it a little bit later, but it's a great flow for larger groups.
So what should we know a little bit about catering and culinary? Because you guys are obviously offering that in-house.
Yes.
With your caterer of 29 years experience?
Our catering manager, So she would be essentially your wedding specialist. So I think it's really important to know that you don't have to make your catering decisions right off the bat. It's good to have an idea of what you're looking to offer, but you're not at this stage of picking your venue, also selecting your menu. So you have time to sort of develop what that looks like and have conversations with your family to see how best to accommodate your group in particular. We have banquet menus that sort of give you an idea of what we do offer, but it's really important to know that you can play around with that and not feel tied to that menu. We also change our menu seasonally here and there. So it allows for our team to play around with seasonal ingredients. It also allows for you to customize based on your personal preference. So
I was just going to ask, if I was a lover of pumpkin, could I come in and say I want something?
Absolutely. So it's a really great feature of this hotel in particular. We've got such a vast kitchen staff and a very talented chef who is willing to work with you to customize something that is both unique to you and or your culture or what you and your partner love to eat or to drink. So it offers a lot of flexibility that way. I don't know if I've seen a wedding since I've been here that's cookie cutter from the package itself. So there's a lot of flexibility with both the items and your service style too. So people are getting a little bit more creative with how they deliver your hors d'oeuvres or having more interaction with food stations or changing the dessert course from being plated to family style so everybody sort of shares, or deciding, you know what, let's have people dancing earlier and open up a dessert station instead so people can go help themselves. So you can do anything really with both service style and what you're offering.
You can put your own personality spin.
Exactly. And I think that's so important too.
Right.
It's so important to customize your day, not only with your decor or with your stationery, but pulling it through to your catering, because that's a really huge part of every wedding.
What do you think is something you hear most frequently from a past couple when they leave here? What do you think is something that they've said that they loved the most? After they've had their wedding?
Yeah. I think it's a combination of things. I think because of the expertise of our catering management team or catering managers, there is so much personalization to the overall experience. So they're starting with me, but they do then work for a year to 16 months to 18 months, depending on when they book their wedding, with our catering managers who sort of guide them through the process. So there's always very high regard for that assistance, because we've been doing it for so long. We can make recommendations for anything that happens on site, but also vendors that they can work with. On site, I think we hear wonderful things about the food, wonderful things about the chef's response to feedback, or creative ways of enhancing things. And then our servers as well. They've got a lot of heart. A lot of them have been with the hotel for many, many years and can speak to the hotel's history, which adds a bit more personality than you would typically expect. So it's really nice to see the engagement.
Yeah, I agree with that, because it's almost like the older the venue, the more people are, it becomes a part of their life, essentially, especially if they work here.
For sure.
But it's just somewhere they love to promote because they have such a good experience here.
Yeah.
So they want to give that experience to other people.
Exactly.
Which is really nice. So if I am a bride, I want to kind of circle back to the bridal suite portion. And let's say I book here and I'm going to get ready here. What kind of amenities do you guys offer for couples who book rooms with you guys?
I really love how we personalize this experience, because so much is about the wedding. It takes away a little bit from how to connect with our clients. But our catering managers learn little bit about them. I pick up little tidbits about them, and then we try and customize what we're offering in their room to their personalities. So, for example, we had a bride come in, and she mentioned during her tasting that she loves goldfish, like the crackers.
The cracker.
So we filled up a fishbowl of goldfish and had that available. And
that was just in passing.
That was just in passing. Exactly. And she was over the moon. Like, it's things like that we get brides raving about, that type of personalization. So we do all of the sort of standard things. We include champagne on the night of the wedding, chocolate dipped strawberries. We can personalize little things here and there. So we can do house coats with Mr. and Mrs. embroidered on them. We've done personalized shower gels and conditioners and things like that. Yeah.
That's cute.
So there are many different ways. There's many different levels to it, but we always try and add a personal touch. So let's say the groom loves old fashions. We'll put together a little build your own old fashioned kit. So there's lots of different ways that we can.
I love old fashions. Can I have one of those kits?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
That's so nice, because the idea is that you want to make them feel like they're at home.
Exactly.
So obviously that's the experience you guys are going for.
We want to make sure you feel there needs to be that balance of feeling catered to and being at home, because it's a stressful overall experience. You want to come back to a room and unwind and have your favorites with you. There is also sort of the option to upgrade that experience. So if you do want to continue a very residential feel, our Fairmont Gold product was renovated and reopened this year as well, which is a absolutely beautiful, elevated, luxurious experience. So that is located on floors 12 to 18 of the hotel. On the 18th floor, we do also have a gold floor lounge, which offers just very elevated, customized experience. So you can kind of feel like a king and a queen for a day or the weekend.
Lovely. And are we going to get to go up there and have a tour?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what happens on the gold floor?
It's being treated as a hotel within the hotel. So guests will have their own personal check-in experience. They'll have their own dedicated concierge team. We will sort of figure out some of their preferences ahead of time and customize that in their room and or suite. And then they have access to the Fairmont Gold Lounge. In that lounge, they have breakfast is included. Later on in the day, there's canapé and bar service, so there's sort of an elevated experience up on that level.
And it's their own like lounge specific to those floors, and only if you're a gold member can you be, or only if you're with the Fairmont Gold you can be on that floor.
Exactly. So you do need to be a guest to be up there, just to offer that exclusivity to the space.
It's not a membership.
It is not a membership, right. So anybody can book a room on the gold floor.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to see it.
I'm excited to head up there.
So the renos that have now been completed and just opened in June, I believe you said.
Our 90th birthday. Yeah.
Yes. And so that also focused on the lobby of the Fairmont with the clock.
Yes.
And so what was kind of the changeover with what it was to what it is now?
So we did open up 2 new restaurant outlets on our lobby level. I'd probably say that's the biggest change, that and the loss of the spiral staircase. So we did sort of close that up to really open up the arrival experience from the Front Street entrance. There is still a clock experience, on the other side of which is our new champagne and cocktail bar called Clockwork. So that is a very exciting piece. It allows for guests who were coming into the hotel to see our iconic lobby actually sit and enjoy a cocktail in that space. So it's a really beautiful addition. We've had rave reviews about it. And then there was also the addition of Rain Restaurant. So Epic is no longer. And Rain Restaurant is actually a 3-part F&B outlet, because we have a bakery that's open until 12. It's got its own lounge and bar area, and then it is a a la carte restaurant, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Oh, very nice.
But the really great thing about that restaurant is that we also have options for private events as well. So for a wedding, for example, they could use that space for rehearsal dinners. They can use it for a post-wedding brunch. We do have 2 private dining rooms that can seat up to 10, and then there's also different sections of the dining room that you can use for other guests.
So if I'm coming in, I book a room, I can also have potentially a rehearsal the night before, or a dinner with close family. It's like intimate space.
Exactly.
Behind closed doors for us to just have fun and chat and have champagne.
Exactly.
Very nice.
Exactly.
Okay. And cocktail hours also are something that can be offered down there.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. So we can do a buyout of a portion of the restaurant, or we can look at other private event spaces as well. So the 19th floor is another one of our very popular spaces for wedding-related events. So whether that be a rehearsal cocktail, whether that be your post-wedding brunch, bridal showers, there are so many opportunities in this building for that.
So you kind of get a glimpse of everything in one shot. So if you wanted to do rehearsal or have family, you have rooms blocked, and you can host your event within one floor and have so much space that you don't feel like you're on top of each other at all. So love it. Okay, well, I think that we should go for a tour. What do you think?
Yeah, let's go.
Do it.
So this is our ballroom. I always like to walk in and sort of take a pause so people can actually take in the detail in this space. So this is the first room that we had talked about, where we can do either just the ceremony or do a smaller wedding with both ceremony and reception following. During the cocktail hour, they sort of move out to that space and we transform the space from one event to the other.
Perfect. Okay.
So that's the option for the room flip. So we can do up to $250 for that. And then for the ceremony only option, we can do up to about $450 in this space.
Seated for ceremony can be $450 in this space.
Yes, exactly.
Wowzers.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not a small room. It's got quite a bit.
Not a small room.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
And so if you're doing the flip over, then you can seat 250.
Yes.
Okay.
For both the ceremony and the reception portion, with space for a dance floor.
Okay, so curious to know, and we do want to bring on another guest. We have on the sidelines here.
Yes.
But curious to know about the culinary aspect of
Yes.
what you can offer for the reception portion.
So I would like to introduce our chef to actually speak to that.
Come on in. Come join us.
Chef J.W. Foster. So Chef is going to speak a little bit to sort of culinary, being our in-house resident expert.
I think that, especially in this hotel and these beautiful rooms that we have, we'd like to keep it residential, where the guest has a smaller feeling for an event. So we're not trying to do big, massive with big buffets in the old school way. We're trying to make it very intimate, a little more definitely forward in food, in the sense of we're using local farms, we're using sustainable seafoods in our programming. A lot of the guests are asking for that now. They want to know where it came from and the whole history of, and which is amazing. And I think that sets us apart. We're taking what's growing here in Ontario or wherever our hotels are, and we're trying to showcase what's going on around them and the people that are actually doing this. So I think that makes a big difference in what we do, as well as the big drive now seems to be a lot of family style product. Everybody wants to have it. I think it's about bringing people more around the table and being a bit more intimate than just sitting around in a formal atmosphere, which I think is kind of cool when you take these old beautiful hotels and these rooms and you bring it where it becomes more of a social gathering in a sense than just sitting down and having a meal. So I think that seems to be the drive that we're seeing more and more.
And so everything, we were speaking upstairs, and everything's a little bit personal. Like you can personalize a menu now.
Absolutely.
So if somebody comes to you and says they want something, and I was using the example of pumpkin inspired, then you might be able to list off some options for them based on what you know.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like
and that's happening a lot more.
It?
Like, everyone has a banquet menu that we have, and I think those really just tell a story of what's easy or for the guests if that's what they're looking for. But we do probably more custom than we do off that banquet menu. And I think that just shows that everybody wants to have something that's unique, individualized, and it speaks to them and how they help create it, so there's more of a connection. And I think that's what I enjoy the most, because I think we get something better that they're feeling good about, and I think it excites the group that is involved. So
it's one thing I always remember is the food at a wedding.
Yeah.
It legitimately is the one takeaway that you always remember. Is
ties it all together, right?
It does. I mean, you have a beautiful space, but everyone loves to eat, and I think that's what brings everybody into a good mood. So
for sure. Well, thanks for joining us.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate your insight.
So if you are looking to use this space for just your ceremony, oftentimes our brides and grooms choose one side or the other to orient their altar or their chuppah, the area where they will be getting married, so that they can really enjoy a very long, dramatic aisle. I think that looks absolutely beautiful when you do have a very large bridal party. But for weddings that are a little bit smaller, there is also the opportunity to drape off the room to make it still feel quite intimate, because it can sort of feel very large if you are sort of under the maximum capacity for this space. So with that, or with the option to flip the room, typically we do a drape line, and then it allows us to actually preset the room beforehand and have a very quick flip during the cocktail hour where the drape line comes down and we essentially move tables over.
So just to summarize, you could essentially have part of the ceremony here, your dramatic runway, which I love, aisle. And then this part could be draped, and this is where things could potentially be set.
Exactly.
Until the flip happens.
Exactly. If you're just using it for your ceremony, essentially it's set however you'd like it. Guests move outside, and then this room sort of closes off for the evening. You can choose to come back in later on if you wanted to do something interactive like a photo booth or a late night, but I find most guests do tend to keep that, or most clients do tend to keep that in the area of the reception. If you are just hosting your reception and not hosting a ceremony on site, it is similar to that. It's just set sort of one way for the evening. You can play around with sort of the overall flow for the evening as well. So the opportunities for setup in this room are endless, really. We include round tables, linens, flatware, glassware, everything you need from a food and beverage perspective, everything you need to set the table. From a decor perspective, we include centerpieces. We'll put down a printed menu. We have candle votives. So we try and give you everything you need, and then you can start to pull things away and customize it how you'd like. And then in terms of other things we can include, or we do include, would be risers, podium for your speeches. We do have rectangular tables for head tables only. If you did want rectangular tables, we can rent them and bring them in as well. So
Okay, so you could do rectangle or round.
absolutely.
Whatever you
Yep.
prefer.
With how gorgeous this room is, a lot of people feel very comforted by the fact that they don't need to do too much from a decor perspective, especially if you are working with a budget, but the opportunities are endless if you did want to sort of play around with the elements of the room that already exist, or the colors that are already existing in the ceiling. So
Talk to me a little bit about the balconies.
yes, so these are one of my favorite features of the space. These 4 Juliet balconies are accessible, so you can use them for just about anything. We have had Mr. and Mrs. announcements up there. It's a great opportunity for taking photos from that bird's eye view. You could technically have entertainment or a musician up there as well, so you can really play exactly. There's 4 of them, maybe a string quartet. There's plenty of opportunity to use those spaces to add a bit of a level to your guest experience.
So this room was obviously a big part of the renovation that happened. What were some of the details that have been changed since it's been reopened?
So this room was more of a soft renovation, although was still quite dramatic. We did not touch the ceilings or lighting fixtures just to maintain the integrity and the history of this space. However, we did refinish the existing hardwood floor. We do have an optional carpet option that is new. So brides and grooms can choose whether or not they'd like hardwood or carpet in this space.
Fun.
Okay. And then we also painted the perimeter of this room. So it used to be a very deep forest green, the walls as well as the doors, so it had a very intimate, romantic feel, but we've added the grays and the whites really to give it more of an airy feel. We do still have quite a bit of the green in the ceiling, so if we do have couples that are looking to play off of that, it still exists in the space, but this just sort of broadens the horizons a little bit for clients looking to host in this room. And then the last thing that was changed was the drapery in the space. So it used to be a very deep gold, which was a little bit darker, but we went with a bit more of a sheer and a more neutral color, just to allow for a bit more natural light in this space.
It really feels light and airy, which is nice.
Exactly.
And great for photos.
Perfect for photos.
And great for video. And the other thing I think I noticed the most about this is you may not have to have so much of an elaborate decor setup, because you have such a supportive, like with the ceilings and the chandeliers, like you already get that, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's already like an eyepiece for your guests to look at. So very lovely.
Perfect.
All right, shall we go to the next?
Let's go to the next.
So we are now in the cocktail space that comes with the ballroom. So this is typically where guests would come and cocktail for an hour to an hour and a half between the ceremony and reception, or if they're not hosting their ceremony on site, guests are arriving off of the elevators and cocktailing here before moving into the ballroom.
And can we note how short that commute was?
Yeah, right? That was probably what, 5 seconds?
5 seconds,
10
and
seconds.
you have a drink in your hand.
There you go. Exactly.
So that's okay.
So it's a really great flow overall, whether you're hosting your ceremony on site or not. We did renovate this floor as well. So the carpet along the convention floor is a new addition, but fun fact, that was one of our original clocks, and now it lives here. So it wasn't the one on the staircase. It was the one prior to it, but it now lives on this floor. So we're still looking for a home for the one that was removed from the staircase, but it's nice to know that we still hold on to those pieces.
Lovely. Okay, so where shall we go next?
So we will be going over to the concert hall to take a look at the reception space. So now we are in the foyer space of the concert hall. So if you are moving from the ballroom to the concert hall, this space can be activated during your cocktail hour, but that gives you quite a bit of space for that. So most of our clients do opt to open up these doors when they're inviting guests into the concert hall. We have had couples choose to do the receiving line at this point, so guests are sort of being greeted by the families on their way into the ballroom for the reception, so that's a really great option. Also doing a seating chart or your place cards at this point is a really great use of this space, or later on in the evening if you wanted to repurpose it and use it for your photo booth, for example, that can be set up during dinner. So it's a very multi-purpose space. You can use it for whatever you'd like. It comes with the booking of the concert hall, as does Salon B. So Salon B has many, many purposes. It can be used as an overflow space for cocktails, again, if you wanted to sort of expand your space. Otherwise, it can be used for smaller ceremonies. So for Chinese ceremonies, we have used it for tea ceremonies. For Jewish ceremonies, we've used it for the Bedekin. So it's got many, many uses. Otherwise, it's used for storage or vendor meals, or if you've got kids and you want to set them up in an area close by, that's an option as well.
Very nice. It's important. It's nice to have a secondary room also for, especially for vendors who may have gear or need somewhere to store their stuff that keeps everything else clean.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So we'll continue on into the concert hall, which is typically where we host receptions. So whether or not you're using the ballroom, this space can accommodate 400 to 450 for a seated reception. Yes. I love this room. This room with the renovation to this space is just endless in terms of the opportunities for setup, decor, and overall floor plan layout. This space most often is set up very similarly to that of the ballroom, with the head table in front of the window walls. The dance floor actually is oftentimes in the center of the room. However, you can place that in front of the existing stage. And then tables are typically, or guest tables are set on either side of the dance floor. Is the most common layout for the space. Bars can be placed wherever you'd like. Again, very similar. It doesn't have any sightline distractions or pillars, so there are endless opportunities for how you lay out this room. So if you did want to create a portion of the room that has some lounge furniture, or build that around your dance floor, or play around with how grand your head table is, this space offers that.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned in the last room that you guys actually are now offering a carpeted option.
Yes, so similar to the
work?
ballroom, you have the choice of doing hardwood or carpet. It is a complimentary option. So if you did prefer carpet, we would lay dance floor pieces on top of that to create your dance floor area, but you can add a bit more of a decor piece to the room.
Amazing. And do you ever place a band on the stage?
Yes, we do. So we have had bands on the stage. I think the main reason that people opt to put the band in the center of the room, oftentimes it's built right here on a stage, is just to keep it so that it is more central, but it's not to say that that stage can't be used for a band with your dance floor in front of it or in the center of the room. So you have the option, but I just find most of our guests do tend to centralize the entertainment. So the renovations in this room, again, were more of a soft renovation. So fresh paint, we went with the white and gray color scheme in here. The lighting fixtures did stay the same. The Art Deco design or the ceilings weren't touched other than some paint. We refinished the hardwood, the carpet is new, and then we did swap out our red drapes in front of the windows. So I'm
a bit more sheer, a bit more light now.
Yes, we had some planners who actually would cover them almost every time they were here.
They would drape it?
Yeah.
Now there's no need.
Now there's no need.
Lovely. Okay, well, I think we should take everyone to Fairmont Gold's.
Yeah, let's do it.
Best kept little secret.
Yeah, save the best for last. So we are now on the 18th floor of the Fairmont Gold that was recently renovated. So we are heading into the Fairmont Gold Lounge to take a little look around. As we sort of chatted about earlier today, brides and grooms can upgrade to the Fairmont Gold level. So we are currently standing in the Fairmont Gold Lounge. Anybody who books a room or a suite in our Fairmont Gold category has exclusive access to this space. So brides and grooms do have the option to upgrade to this hotel within a hotel and take advantage of the options that are available up here.
And so they will have like private concierge.
Exactly. So they have a dedicated check-in, private concierge, and then just a very personalized experience up here. So let's go take a look at the kitchen.
Let's do it.
It's my favorite part.
So what is this little gem?
So we have a beautiful rooftop garden where we grow herbs. We've got our own honey hive up there. So this is actually honey from the bees on our roof.
That's amazing.
And
Very
then just
cool.
beside it there is an honor bar.
Lovely.
So in the afternoon there's just some snacks that are placed on this counter just over here. So these counters are actually really cool. The one in the front does have heating capabilities, so if you put a conductor down, we can actually put pots on top and keep things warm. So that's typically used for our breakfast and or the canapes a little bit later on. And then the counter behind that has cooling capabilities, so you can set your wine up there. Or juice or other things that are cold.
That's amazing. And that's why it is the Gold Lounge.
Yes, exactly.
Fairmont Gold. Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for having us to come and check out the space and like all the new renovations. You guys did an amazing job. So
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming in.
yeah, hopefully we'll have an opportunity to film here in the near future.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you.
But it's been a pleasure. So I really appreciate your time.
Of
Thank you
course.
so much.
My pleasure.